there, Warriors of Sunlight. Just thought that I'd make a quick little video about something that was brought to my attention recently. Um, so I've been watching a lot of videos basically describing, I guess you could say, the impact that certain comments have on people, and to all those people out on the internet that are gonna make comments about me being some kind of softie, you're probably right. um, it was just kind of shocking and kind of opened my eyes a little bit to how certain comments we say throughout the day have different effects on people. Like, for example, um, the biggest one on the tip of my tongue, not just the forefront of my mind, I would say, is the term weeaboo. Granted, I don't use the term in a serious manner and oftentimes use it jokingly, but using an inappropriate and or I guess you could call it an offensive term jokingly is still using an offensive term. So I did a little bit more research on what exactly it meant, as well as some of the impact it's had on a lot of people. And it took me a little while to kind of get a grasp on it, but I guess you could say that the biggest thing that stuck out to me was the fact that there are people out there who are into anime or just otaku culture in general, and they stray away from it and they kind of stop letting it be interesting to them, all because a select group of people consistently make fun of them or consistently poke or prod at them, calling them a weeaboo. Um, for those of you beautiful people out there who don't know what a weeaboo is, it's oftentimes someone who has a over-exaggerative interest in Japanese culture and is willing to throw away their own cultures and their own heritages for that of a Japanese heritage or culture, learning most of what they know about it instead of actually visiting Japan. Instead of actually visiting Japan, they just kind of sit around and look at stuff on the internet all day, or watch anime or read manga, which granted isn't bad and I don't think should be discouraged. However, there are people out there who oftentimes do fit this stereotype, and I feel like they're the ones who, much like any fan base or any activity, are kind of like the quote-unquote bad apples, I guess you could say, where, I don't know how many of you know this, but a long, long time ago, right around whenever I first hit middle school, I got involved in the My Little Pony fandom. Now, for those of you groaning, hear me out. So, I got into the My Little Pony fandom not because of really the content even, but more or less because their catchphrase was love and tolerance. And I thought that was really cool. So I started getting into it and I was like, alright, whatever, it's some harmless little community I can say I'm a part of. Whatever, no big deal. We all kind of like this one show with some horses that talk and it's a cartoon and people make videos and music videos and games. Whatever, no big deal. I didn't think anything of it until there was a select group of people who started kind of messing it up, I guess you could say. Like, I wouldn't even go as far as say messing it up, but they just started doing some risque things with the material or started making some kind of, jabby jokes or touchy jokes that may or may not offend some people. And as the show went on and as the fans went on, the term brony was coined. And at first, it was kind of a term of endearment. It was like, oh, hey, are you a brony? And someone would say, oh, heck yeah, I love My Little Pony. And it was totally cool. So you had bronies and Pegasisters and all that stuff, and it was all right. But as I spent time in the fandom, I slowly started to realize it was degrading in a way. That it felt really weird. Like, there was this weird subgenre of brony in a way that just felt really strange. Where, like, they didn't really like the show, and they didn't really enjoy the community. They just had this really weird turn on from cartoon horses, which is what? So they would basically just draw Rule 34 and would over sexualize the characters, and it completely defeated kind of the whole, I guess, the main point behind all of it in my eyes. And I'm kind of starting to notice that with today's culture and the whole quote unquote term weeaboo. Um, it's kind of like the term brony is now, where if you go out in public and say, oh, hey, I'm a brony, people oftentimes, it's like you can feel the like respect you had for them being thrown out the window in a way. And I feel like it's kind of sad that certain fans and certain parts of a fandom have caused that term to become something negative and become something that's not exactly positive, if you get my meaning. And the same can be said with Weeaboo. Granted, Weeaboo was never anything particularly positive. I mean, it's always been kind of a jab at whoever was into Japanese culture. But at the same time, I feel like we use that term and we don't quite take into consideration the negative after effects. You know, like there are people out there who love anime, and there are people out there who enjoy it and think it's a great art form, and they don't find anything wrong with that. They don't think there's anything messed up about that, and they don't divulge or partake in the really messed up stuff. And yet, there are these people calling them weeaboos, when in reality, they're just someone who enjoys Japanese culture and enjoys their art and everything involved with that. So, I guess the whole point of this little rant is, as warriors of sunlight that we all are, we kind of need to take into consideration other people. And I know that that's kind of a preachy message to be talking about in a YouTube video, especially an ASMR YouTube video from a YouTuber with like what, like two subscribers. Regardless, we need to take into consideration other people's feelings. And we need to take into consideration that the people you're talking to over the internet or even in person aren't just figments of your imagination. And if you're a firm believer of that religious study, I apologize. They are, if you believe that. I'm sorry. But a good way to, I guess I could say, save that statement. People you talk to have feelings, or figments of your imagination have feelings. And we should take those into consideration. I'm not saying you have to sugarcoat everything, because that goes against the amendments and whatnot if you're in America, and they go against your beliefs if you're from anywhere else. And I don't think that's right. I don't feel like you should structure yourself or change yourself all because someone says you need to do something. But that being said, if we all started treating each other with a little bit more love and light, I feel like the world would be a much better place. But that's just coming from my deranged sense of thinking, so take that as you will. Thank you for sitting through this video, and I appreciate all of you very, very much. Love and light. Namaste.